honey.
It's free. I'm probably making $3,000, like 1,701, 800. Oh yeah, it's just that adds up.
Yes.
That adds up. So man, you're gonna help teach this.
Hi, Ross. Thank you for coming. Nubia, do you know Ross and Bobby? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's just with that one thing to agree. The one deal. It's all good. I just need to know like
Yeah.
how to do it.
Okay, for sure. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let me wait one more minute. You know.
My one deal is closed on Friday.
Man.
Wells Fargo, like I don't think I'll ever deal with Wells Fargo ever again if my clients want to use. They never work. They never.
No, they're horrible.
They're horrible.
Mm-mm.
And it's an absentee seller. It's military. The guy sold to a military relocation company. So the military relocation company owned it. And all their paperwork is blank. So it's all blank paperwork that says absentee seller on top of Wells Fargo. It was like not understanding this. And we closed Friday and it's like, come on, like you have all the previous owner's paperwork. Okay.
Did you get one? Oh, you didn't get one. You want me?
I'll take one for sure.
All right, let me let in. I don't know who's doing
But Patsy had an interesting solar situation.
Yeah.
A week and a half ago. I don't know all the answers, right? So it's like, looked up some are complicated, but it was like, it was owned.
Yeah,
And they still did, I guess and they still owed X amount. I'm like, they're gonna have to sell it. I mean, they're gonna have to pay off that loan.
right,
That's
right.
the only way around it.
Because the contract was not contingent on, I mean, the contract didn't have the buyer taking over
Right.
payments.
That's right.
They said they were transferring it free and clear at settlement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the case.
So the only way around that is pay it off,
Yeah,
or you jack up the price of build that into the price of the house, but the buyer's not gonna.
right, take it off the price of the house.
Take it off,
Yeah,
right, the buyer's not gonna do that.
yeah,
I had a buyer that had sold her house in Hawaii. A similar thing happened. She didn't find out till like a week or two before closing, when she sold that house, that she had to pay off all her solar panels. She had to pay like 20,000 to close.
See, that's crazy to me though. I own a house that's solar, like I just put solar, and if I sold my house, I know I've got a loan on the top of my head. I know it's there.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go inside the house and think that's just gonna disappear? And we're just gonna
Right.
transfer this, it just doesn't.
yeah,
logically work.
and and people, yeah, they're opting into these, like they're signing up for these.
Correct.
So
How don't you know?
you've gotta know.
I think it's more of like, well, I don't say anything, it's just gonna work.
Go away, it's just gonna go away.
That's what I think most people think.
No,
It was an older woman and her husband had passed. And I think her husband was the one that like
Yeah,
went through the whole solar deal, so she didn't
She knew
really
nothing
know
about it.
anything about it. She just figured like, oh, I
Wow.
guess like,
yeah,
she didn't even sign any like the lease, but it was like, I don't know, like you said,
right.
she had to pay it off out of her.
It's like you put a swimming pool in. Gotta pay for the pool.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, right,
It's not going
exactly.
anywhere.
All right, good morning, everybody online. We have a couple people online. Couple people in the room. Thank you guys for coming in today. We have 2 online so far. 3. Fernanda, Stephanie, Aisha. I don't know who Zoom user is, so I'm not accepting it without a name. I don't know who that is. I'm sure they'll text Amanda. Okay. So in your hands and on the screen and available for you guys is the 2 addendums. So there are 2 addendums that apply to solar panels, and then you also disclose it on the inclusions exclusions. So I didn't pull the inclusions exclusions up. I can, but there is a spot on there for you to disclose leased items. And if the solar panels are leased, they will go on there. but then you must use the appropriate addendum to go along with it, to add that to the contract, the details of the lease. So what I pulled up, the two addenda that I pulled up, the first one is the solar panel addendum to the listing agreement. So this is only between the seller and you, the listing agent, to disclose the details about the solar panels so that you have knowledge. This does not go to the buyer. This is just a seller disclosure, kind of like the financial condition of property disclosure. Good morning. This does not go to the buyer, right? This doesn't have buyer signatures on the bottom. So this is just for between the listing agent and the seller. And that's really important to note. The next one that we're gonna go over is the one that is between the buyer and the seller, okay? So this is the solar panel addendum to the listing agreement. You'll notice at the top, the acknowledgement of the solar system. They're disclosing who manufactured, so who the company is, that this may not be who they got the system from, correct, Bobby? This is the manufacturer of the system, but it could have been leased by a different company,
Well, typically,
or does the manufacturer lease it? Like, do you buy Tesla panels from Tesla direct, or like you said, you work
Yes.
with a broker?
well, you can have a separate sales arm and then you have your installer. The installer is the one that controls the solar system. The
Okay.
installer is gonna do all the maintenance. They're gonna do any phone call you have about, any question you have about it is going to go to the installer ultimately.
Right,
Because a broker, which is that's another situation
Yeah.
altogether. Because a lot of times you're calling Lumina, you're calling Sustainable Energy Systems, you're calling Solar Energy World, and they're doing everything in-house. There's another situation where you have a third-party broker like I was, where we're farming that out to the installer.
right.
So
Okay.
you have to know who you need to contact if any issues come up, if any problems happen. Most likely, you're not gonna call the sales team, you're calling Lumina, you're calling Solar Energy.
The
World,
manufacturer.
The manufacturer.
Okay.
And they're not even the manufacturer. They're just the installer. The manufacturer is somewhere over in China, they're in the Philippines, they're
Right,
somewhere
see,
else.
which is why.
So I had two situations. One time, and both in the- like, just got, like Saturday.
This is one we talked about before.
No, that's.
Oh, wow.
Jeez,
So I work too,
yeah.
right? So I feel like I'm still asking questions. So the manufacturer was,
Yeah, every piece of this has a
It
different
is.
manufacturer. That's the thing.
Right,
so this manufacturer, she gave me the manufacturer's name. And I did everything directly through them, right? I talked to them. It's called Palmetto Lighting. The PPA.
It's the installation company.
So I did every single thing through them.
Correct.
Transfer, the whole 9 yards, just them. However, the one that you and I talked about, they had actually went through their credit union to get a loan to pay for it. So,
That's the difference between ownership and lease.
yeah,
so, and it was crazy, but the one that I'm closing today, it was a lot more smoother, and I've learned a lot more that the buyer can't call, the owner, the seller has to call, initiate the transfer.
Initially,
blah,
yes,
blah,
yes.
all of that stuff. They actually reached out, I had to, buyer's license, connect them with their agent, get their license, avoid check. They had to call them and do credit check. It was the buyer they had to reach out to the buyer. So it was really, really an eye-opening experience, how much I had to do that. And then the seller, her husband, they were in her husband's name, but he's deceased. So but they would talk to me every time. I would just call and say, hey, I'm the real estate agent trying to sell this house. What do I need to do? And they did walk me through that.
right, nice, nice.
It's a challenge, and
Yeah.
I would tell anybody that's working with solar, start at the very, very beginning, even if you're the selling agent, because it's a process.
Right.
And I guess for us, we're closing in 2 weeks. So that's what made it like.
Right.
I will say, as long as you follow the steps,
Yeah,
as long, it's a very simple set of directions basically that you need to follow. And like you said, you reach out, you make the phone call, hi, everybody. You just follow the steps and you have the seller initiate everything until they eventually can transfer. Once they transfer it, then the buyer can start making contact. But as long as you don't get that confused, everything kind of can go smoothly. Because I just closed on a home. We had 2 solar systems on the roof, 2 separate solar systems from 2 separate companies. It was easy peasy, let me tell you right now. And I'll tell you, so when the gentleman that first owned the house, let's say he needed 20,000 kilowatt hours to power his home. Well, his first system only gave him, say, 15. So he thought it was going to cover 20,000. Well, it didn't. So then he decided, I want more power. So then he got another system and liked the pricing from another company better. So the second company came in, put the second smaller solar system on, merged it with the original solar system, and now he didn't have an electric bill. But he had 2 separate solar systems from 2 separate installers. And but the whole system went under one installer. So they took over the other system. So they took over the other system. So it was one set of phone calls the whole way through. But again, it was simple only because they followed the steps with the phone calls. And just to clarify something, the manufacturer doesn't matter.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, that verbiage is wrong. It doesn't matter who is making what. It doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. It matters who the installer is. The installer, again, the Solar Energy Worlds, which are based right here in Elkridge, Lumina's, Sustainable Energy Systems, that whoever's installing the solar system is who you're going to make every phone call to. That's who is going to solve all your problems, right? Manufacturer doesn't matter who's making the inverter, who's making the wiring, who's making the racking, who's actually making the solar cells. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
It's whoever, they're purchasing all that, the installer's purchasing all that from the manufacturer, then they are putting it together and they are going to put it on your home. And then it really just comes down to, do you lease it or do you own it? Because those are obviously 2 wildly different things. But again, it all starts with the system and the steps. As long as you follow the steps and you make that first phone call, hey, I have a client, they own a house with solar, you're the installer, or whoever the loan's through too, right? Because if it's owned, you're gonna have a loan situation with a bank, whether it be a brick and mortar bank or a third-party solar bank, the financing, and then you're gonna call the bank. And it just, as long as you're calling everybody that's on the contract, you're going to get the answers that you need. And the transfer becomes simple once you say, hey, I've got a client, they have solar, the loan is with you, XYZ Bank, or Solar Energy World, the system is with you. How do we transfer this to the new owner? Okay, boom. And then they'll start walking you through how to do that.
can you start, Bobby, can you talk a little bit about, you started to talk about this on your own personal. So for agents that are working with buyers, help them process through so they understand the benefit of solar panels.
Yeah.
Because a lot of buyers get either scared or the agents get freaked out, no, it's a big deal and we don't want to deal with this. Can you talk about the benefit of solar? Because you were just.
I just put solar on my home. I just got my first electric bill. We just got turned on. I have a $0 electric bill. I will have $0 electric bill for the next 25, 30 years. That's the main benefit, but you have to understand how it works, and it doesn't benefit everybody. Solar is not for everybody. And if you have a buyer that wants to go buy a particular home with a solar system, you have to be able to do the math. You have to be able to figure out, okay, is this a good savings for you or not? Basically what you're saying is, did that original homeowner get screwed, or did they get a good solar system put on their roof, and are they saving money? So to be able to do that, there's a couple ways to do it. First of all, you need to look at their electric bill. You need to figure out, what are they currently paying? I'm a BG&E customer. I know that all in, when I got my bill, and that includes taxes, fees, Empower Maryland charges, all those little charges that you have no idea what they're for, that all adds up to a total number. So let's say I'm going to pay $200 a month, just hypothetically. I need to make sure that by the time I pay my solar bill, and if I have any leftover electric that goes to the electric company, that is less than $200. And if it's less than $200 a month on average, then I am saving money. That's the bottom line. So if you do the math, with BG&E typically right now, let's say BG&E is charging you, if you're a BG&E customer or a Pepco customer or a Potomac Edison customer or a Delmarva Power customer, it doesn't matter. You're roughly paying around 24 cents per kilowatt hour used for your home, right? So now you just need to know, okay, if I'm paying 24 cents a kilowatt hour, how much power do I need? How much power is that utility company charging me for? So then you go to your bill, you just look at your total bill for 12 months. You say, okay, I used 15,000 kilowatt hours last year. It's right on my bill, and it's a bar graph, and you can literally add up each month, 100 plus 500 plus 700 plus 800 plus whatever, and you can add up your entire year. Okay, I used 15,000 kilowatt hours, and I know right now I'm paying 24 cents per kilowatt hour. So 24 cents times 15,000 equals X. Then you divide that by 12 months. So you have a total number that I'm paying for the year. You divide that by 12 months. Okay, the average bill was $160. So now you can look at this solar system that the seller's trying to sell that solar system. Okay, let me see all the paperwork. What are you paying? Oh, you're paying $100 a month for that solar system. You're paying $120, but you would have paid 180. You would have paid 220. Oh, it's a great deal. But conversely, it might be a terrible deal. Let's say some unscrupulous solar company, which there are tons of them, and that's where we run into problems with this. Some unscrupulous solar company came around and they put panels on the north side of the home. They put panels under oak trees. There's not any sun getting to them, and all of a sudden, this guy is paying $300 for a solar bill, right? Like say his solar bill is $300, and his electric bill is, he's getting killed, right? Sometimes you're not getting the value out of the solar. You're paying more for the solar than you would have if you would have just stayed with the electric company. And that's where people get hurt. But if you can evaluate a bill, and again, the first thing that you want to do, you want to look at what is that customer paying for electricity. So who are they with? Are they with BG or Pepco or whoever? What are they paying for electricity, and what is their solar bill cost? Like mine's $101 a month. I've got a small house, a small rancher. I pay $101 a month, but I know that my electric bill was going to be $180 a month. So I know I'm saving $80 on average every single month. And that will only get bigger as electric prices continue to go up and my bill is fixed.
So let me ask you this question. Did you see an immediate savings, or did you see like?
I saw an immediate savings.
Okay,
I
guess, I mean, what did you see? Because the one that I have now, she didn't see an immediate increase or whatever, but probably after month 3, she felt that she's had it for like a year, and now she's down to a 0 bill.
It's tricky. It depends on what month they were installed. If they get installed in the fall and you have less daylight, you're not going to notice a savings until you get back into the, late spring, summer, because then the sun is higher in the sky. June, July, August, you get a ton of sunshine. So it depends on, she may not have seen a great savings her first few months if she got, depending on what time of year she got installed. But ChatGPT is smart.
Thank you.
But then it eventually catches up, and then it offsets everything at that point. The perfect time to have your solar system installed literally and start with is probably April. Probably April. I mean, if I had to pick one month, it would be April or May, because then I know I'm getting into these long daylight hours. Clocks have been reset. We get an extra hour on the clock, and you're getting all that extra sunshine. So if I had to pick a month to get it installed, it would be probably April or May. Leasing straight. Ownership is straightforward. Ownership, you have a loan. That loan needs to be paid off if you are going to transfer that.
Sorry, before you
Yep.
go into that, can I just add to the electric, to the savings that Bobby was talking about, Michelle added? It's important to know what the utilities are in the house too, when you're looking at
100%.
evaluating. Because if they have a gas HVAC and gas hot water and then solar, it's not gonna help you, right? It's not gonna save you as much money because.
Well, you're always gonna have a
gas.
But,
Yeah,
but the
you can't get
solar
rid of it.
system was originally built, or should have been built, only to offset the electricity. There's still a big savings. I'm half gas, half electric.
Okay.
I'm gas and electric. But I know my electric was 7,500 kilowatts a year.
Yeah.
Again, not much for a small house, but it's 7,500 kilowatt hours a year is what I needed. So I built my system to produce 9,000 kilowatt hours. I still have a gas bill. I can't get away from the gas bill. That is not offset by solar electricity. Only my electric bill is going to be much less. And plus I get all my incentives that I get, but that's another whole nother thing.
And, shoot. Oh, so if you generate more electricity than you use, do you get credits? Do you get money back? Do you get credits to your electric bill?
So if you generate more solar electricity than you actually consume, your consumption, you receive a credit for every kilowatt hour that you send back to the grid. So if in a particular month, if I consumed 100 kilowatt hours and I produced 110, 10 kilowatt hours are going to go back to BG&E, okay, and they're going to credit me for 10 kilowatt hours. And so during the summertime, when I'm producing a ton of power, but I'm not, because there's no one-off switch on solar, you're making it as long as the sun is out. So if I'm producing a ton of electricity in the summer, I am banking all kind of extra credit. And it's actually called net metering. If anybody wants to know what it's actually called, it's called net metering. Those smart meters that they put on your home, they're set up to literally spin backwards. So when you're making power on the roof and that power is coming down, the first place you use it is in your home for what you need, and what you don't need, it goes back to your utility company. So your meter literally will spin backwards. You can go out, if you own a solar system, look at your meter and you'll see it go backwards, where most people only see it go forwards, right? Because you're paying for what you use. So net metering takes extra energy, sends it back to the grid. Every April, there's a true up. So in April, they're going to true your account up. So you don't keep carrying over extra electricity forever, because then you would never use it. So in April, if I have a surplus of 300 kilowatt hours that I produced but didn't use, they pay me for the 300 kilowatt hours based on what it costs them to produce it. So let's say it's 13 cents a kilowatt hour. They're going to pay me, it's not much, but 13 cents times 300, I get a check in the mail, right? I'm going to get a check in the mail. So yes, you will get paid if you produce more than you consume. And that process is called net metering, by sending extra power back to the grid. Okay.
Company, or
That is every utility company in the state of Maryland. Maryland is a net metering state. Every state is different. California used to be a net metering state, but then they took away net metering, and now California has forced people to get batteries because now they don't have net metering anymore. Now and imagine buying a solar system and then them ripping that away in the Congress or whoever, Senate, and now they don't have the net metering. So then all those people are forced to go buy a battery to store extra energy to use later. In Maryland, you don't need to do that. You don't necessarily need a battery, because net metering will save that power for you to use later.
So the battery is the only way to really go off grid. Like if
You're not off grid.
down.
Yes.
the electric system, PG&E went down.
If BG&E goes down, your battery goes down too. That's a misconception. If you have a solar system with a backup battery and your power goes out, you're going to use whatever's in that battery. But once that battery is depleted, which will be pretty quick, because these are not whole home batteries like a generator. These are specific to certain functions to the home, your refrigerator, your light switch, your sump pump sometimes. Once that power is gone, you are out of power.
Doesn't regenerate.
The newer ones regenerate, but you have to have a certain type of inverter to regenerate the power as the sun comes out the next day. That's a brand new technology that just started.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that,
Most
that,
houses aren't gonna have that.
don't worry about that. Yeah, most houses are not going to have that. Leasing is tricky, because typical lease ownership is straightforward. If you own your solar system, you have a loan and you're buying a home, make sure that loan is paid. That loan has to be paid off, right? Because that's just like, again, putting a pool in your backyard or a deck on the back. That is a home improvement that needs to be paid off, right? And you own the system, so you have to pay that system off. Leasing is a little tricky, because with leasing, you don't own it. You don't own it. And on a lease, your bill's going to go up 2.9% typically a year. Sometimes it could be 1.9%. Sometimes it could be 0, but that's rare. Most times, 90% of the time, your customer's bill, so you have a buyer and they end up getting this solar system transferred into their name. They buy the house. Everything is awesome. You have to make sure that they understand that if they have a leased system, that their bill will go up 2.9% annually. Right. And that's every year on the anniversary date, their monthly bill is going to go up 2.9%. So if their bill starts off at $100 after year one, it's going to be $102.90. and so on and so forth. And that compounds, obviously. So so again, I just had a house, 2 solar systems, both leased, but I figured out the math and I'm like, this is still awesome because your average lease amount is 12 cents. Delmarva Power is at 24 cents. It's going to take 16 years at 2.9% increases just to get to where Delmarva is today.
Right, who knows where they'll be in 16.
And you're not even going to be in this house in 16 years.
Yeah.
And that's assuming Delmarva never goes up in 16 years.
Yeah.
Which we know is not the case. I mean, our electric bills have skyrocketed, right? So if you can do the math and you can ChatGPT it, you can Gemini it, you can do whatever and just say, hey, I'm in year 5 of the lease, and according to the Schedule A, and I'll talk about that in a second because that's very important to see. According to the Schedule A, year 5, I'm paying 13.3 cents. Well, hey, ChatGPT, my client is about to buy a home. They're in year 5 on the lease. They're at 13.3 cents. This lease has a 2.9 annual 2.9% annual increase. Where will give me a year by year breakdown of what my monthly payment will be by year. And that'll tell you, okay, in year 6, it's going to be 104. In year 7, it's going to be 110. In year 15, it's going to be 100, whatever. Get that breakdown, and then you can figure out what that amounts to, like what that total extra charge is going to be. Because if they go into a house thinking, well, I'm buying it, you told me your electric bill is $102 a month, right? I might be able to negotiate, and here's my thought on this. I might be able to negotiate some type of credit with the seller saying, look, my buyer's expecting $102 a month. You know, that's X amount of dollars. That's $1,300 a year. But in 5 years, it's going to be up to 2,000 or whatever. So when I go to close, I'm going to negotiate some type of credit to offset that 2.9% annual increase over the course, the lifetime of that loan. And they're 25-year leases. These leases are all 25 years. Okay. So I'm going to figure out over 25 years, we're coming into this house at $100. And I know in 25 years, that bill is going to be 302. So I'm going to, again, I'm not a mathematician, but I'm going to figure out what that amount is. And I'm going to ask for a credit based on that increase per year, because I don't want to pay for a 2.9% increase. I get it. That's what you did. I get it. That's what you set this lease up for, but that's not my fault. I want to buy your house. You're going to help me out, right? Today you're paying 102. I don't want to pay 300. So whatever that difference is over the course of the lifetime of that lease, I'm going to ask for that in a credit. That's how I would negotiate that.
If there's not multiple.
If there's not multiple, right. I mean, if there's not multiple offers, but I'm going to be really aggressive about it and say, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
So there's just different ways to handle it.
Michelle had a good question. Can you explain the difference between a set payment that goes up yearly on a lease and people that pay a fluctuating lease payment monthly?
Yes, that's what we're kind of talking about now, right? Most of these leases are 2.9% annual increases or 1.9% or 0, which would be the flat. So what happens sometimes when I'm selling solar, which I don't do anymore, but I know how they work, right? So if I sell you, Michelle, or anybody, a lease, and I tell you it's going to be 0%, your initial monthly payment is going to be a lot higher than if I sold you a 2.9% annual increase. So if I came in the door and I said, you know what, for 25 years, you're never going to have a price increase, but you're going to start out at $180 a month. Okay, that might be more than your electric bill today. That might be a little more than your utility companies charge you, but it's never going to go up for 25 years. Some people might like that. But if I came in the door and you're already paying 180 or 200 for your electric bill, and I came in and said, I'm going to start you off at $100 a month, but you're going to have a 2.9% annual increase. And it's going to take you 18 years just to get to where the electric bill is today. No, are you even going to be in the home? Is that even going to matter? Most people are like, let's start off with the lower bill. But you do have those options to do a 0% deal or 1.9% or 2.9%. So it really just depends on what they originally purchased, whether you see that as a flat payment. And as a buyer, I would love to see a flat payment. I would love to see it say 0%, because then it gets really easy. It's like, okay, I've got a $180 bill. It's gonna be like that for the next 15 years or whatever's left on that lease. But if it's not, you kind of have to figure out the math for your client if they're not able to do it. And most of them have no idea that they're just not gonna be able to do it. So you have to figure out the math and figure out, okay, today I'm at $100, or this says $100, 2.9% annually. In 10 years, it's actually gonna be 180. I'm hypothetical numbers. But that's the difference. It just depends on the type of lease they originally purchased, whether it's 0%, 1.9, or 2.9%. That determines the annual increase. And you can never get away from it. Once it's set, it's set. Once it's set, it's set. Now, after 5 years of leasing, you can buy out the lease at fair market value. So you can end up owning your solar system after a 5-year period. Okay. But you don't get any of the incentives. Like you're not gonna do it from the beginning, and you miss out on all those incentives that come along with buying a solar system. You might as well just keep leasing it.
During that time, like when you don't have all that sun out, like in winter and everything, and you have that credit, so none of that credit that you might have been able to, that excess.
No, 100%.
See that.
You're using it in the wintertime, yes. So again, in the summer, you hopefully if you get a house with good sun, you're making a ton of power, you're banking a ton of energy, and clocks go back right in November, I think, right? This January, February, when it's dark at 4, all those credits are getting used to offset the electricity that you're consuming. Yes, but hopefully when you get to April, hopefully, now the clock is switched. Now we're starting to go back up in daylight. Hopefully you do have a credit on your bill. That's the goal. My goal when I was building a solar system, to make sure that for a full year, you had over 100% of your electricity covered. That's why people are like, well, like say it was September. Well, my bill was only $200 this month. I don't care. I want to see what your 12-month outlook was. What did you spend for 12 months? I don't care what your 1-month payment was, because we're not building a solar system to cover 1 month. We're building it to cover 12 months, which if you have enough credit built up, yes, in the wintertime, you will use your credit that you built up through net metering in the summer, and you will offset your bill in the winter to cover those winter months when the sun sets early, right? And then when you get to April, hopefully you have a credit left over, and then you get a little bit of money. I never built a solar system or sold a solar system based off of what they were going to get back in April. Never cared. I mean, I tried to get to close to 100%.
Cassie, that's why your friend didn't see the zeroed out bill because of winter months.
Yeah, that's
Right
right.
away.
Yeah, and she did get them during the winter time. It still makes sense. It just helps me to explain, because the other agent was like, well, I don't really see the cost savings, and I was like.
Nice.
And then,
Yeah.
I don't-
So always remember too, no matter if they have a zero electric bill or not, like all their power is offset, they're actually still connected to the utility company. So they will see a customer charge on the bill. But like my electric bill was 0 this month. All my power is covered by solar, but I still had a $10.32 customer charge to be, and you cannot get away from that. BG says that's for filing paperwork. It's like any admin fee. It's like any admin fee, right? It's an admin fee. And that's, so you cannot get away from that. So don't be surprised to still get a $10 to $11, $12 probably bill, even if they have zero zero electricity being paid for.
What's the average fair market value?
Depends on the solar system. It depends on the solar system. If you have a 20 kW system, right? You have 100 panels on your roof, or you have a system like mine that's 17 panels, like a small system. My solar system was $17,000, right? And I'm gonna have that all paid for. Except I'll have $3,000 left by the time I get all my incentives back. So really, my solar system cost me $3,000 to offset all my electricity for the next 25 years, right? It's insane if you do it right. But you got to, right? But it doesn't work for every house. Again, it doesn't work for every house. Depends on it really just depends on shading and trees and shape of your roof, and what's your current consumption. There's a lot of factors that go into play. But fair market value just depends on how long it's been on the roof. It's kind of like turning, when you lease a car, and I used to lease cars a lot, they would tell you at the beginning, and they do this with solar too, it's in the contract. If you have a lease, you know what the fair market value is going to be if you wanted to say to buy it out after 5 years. Okay, it's in the contract. These numbers just aren't made up. They just don't poof come out of thin air. They're in but these contracts are like 60 pages long. So you have to go through and really scour them to find out what the fair market value is. Now, that being said, I meant to talk about this a while ago. In a lease, there is a document called Schedule A. Schedule A lays out year by year what your payment is going to be, what you are paying per kilowatt hour. And it calculates in the 2.9% annual increase. It is a one-page document, says Schedule A at the top. It'll say year 1 through year 25, and it will tell you what you're paying each year, and you will see your increase each year. And then you can pretty easily calculate what that is going to cost you over that time period. Okay, so it's buried in there. It's like, say if it's a 60-page document, it's on page 45. So that's really what you want to find, so you can start doing the math and figuring out, okay, is this a good value for my client, or is this should we move on and look for a different home? Right? Because solar can kill you if the numbers don't play out in your favor. Solar can be an extra expense that you should not have to incur.
A question about the scheduled lease, because we had seen that, and it kind of breaks down like estimate how many kilowatt hours per year you're gonna get.
Right.
It goes down a little bit each year because obviously like systems degrading stuff.
Natural degradation.
But what happens if there's like, cause they'll estimate like 5 years, it's gonna be producing like, not very much less, like 5% less.
Right.
What happens if, there's a tree that's there, like you say, you get one of those less scrupulous solar companies to install it, and there's just a big difference between that estimate and what the system's actually producing, because it should be on the hook for paying that full fee, or
you're still on the hook for paying your monthly bill.
Does the
You can't get around it.
Have to come in and change it, or are you just kind of stuck in
In almost every contract, there's a stipulation that says if power production falls below X amount, that we will reimburse you X amount of cents per kilowatt hour to make up for it. I don't know if that was in every contract I ever sold.
I think that was in the contract.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
but there may be some companies that don't include that, right? I mean, again, there's hundreds of companies out there. You better do your research, just like buying anything in this world, and make sure that you go with somebody with good reviews, that they've been doing it a long time, or because there's people that are coming from out of state all the time. They door knock constantly. These people don't live around here. They live in California, Arizona. They fly them in here for the summer, and they're knocking doors, and they don't care. In 2 months, they're going to be back in Arizona. So they're selling for people that sometimes their contracts are not written properly. But it should be, if you don't produce the amount that it stipulates that you're going to produce, that you get reimbursed to offset
and
that cost.
Keep an eye out for that.
100%.
In the lease contract.
Absolutely.
Solar of the government giving out money to people to use solar. And I just ignore it. And
Yeah.
but since you're not selling solar any longer,
Right.
so if you were anti-solar, what would you tell me?
If I was anti-solar,
You were against the solar,
well, I'm not. So what would I tell you?
Yeah, what would you tell me the next year? It's not a solar that I would know, that I would not probably get just from not knowing about the solar setup.
Oh, just like what are the negatives about solar, just in general? That you better make sure that you get enough sunshine on your roof, first and foremost. And when they come in, I would get 3 to 4 quotes. I hate it when people do that to me, but I would, like, if I was the consumer, I would get 3 to 4 quotes with top-notch companies, and I would make sure that they all kind of said the same thing, because company A might tell you you're going to get 19,000 kilowatt hours with this system. Company B might be the same size system, and they're telling you 21,000, right? And you just have to ask questions. Well, why are you telling me this? Because the other guy said 19. It's all about sunshine. It's all about the angle of the roof. Which direction is it facing? Is it facing north, south, east, or west? North sucks, south is great, east and west is okay, right? So what direction is it facing? How many panels do I have? How much power is this going to offset? It just comes down to the sunshine. People worry about holes on their roof and stuff like that.
Deterioration, it deteriorates your roof.
The way I look at it, it's like a force field on my roof. It's like got a chest protector on my roof. It's actually going to help my shingles underneath my roof last a lot longer, believe it or not. The way they install these systems, it's pretty impressive. They go in through the roof, they double seal everything. Yes, you're going to have a leak 1% out of 100, 99% time, you're fine. But you hear the horror stories about the 1%. But if you have a good company, that's going to be fixed like that. They're going to replace your drywall. They're going to paint everything. It's going to be fixed, right? So people worry about holes in roofs. People worry about is it going to produce what you're saying it's going to produce? And there's no way to prove it. Like this is going to make what we say. But this stuff, here's the thing people don't understand. Like this stuff was put on, Richard Nixon put it on the White House. This stuff has been around. But yeah, it's insane. It's not new. It's not like this new concept. These have been tested millions and millions of times in labs, in hurricane force conditions, in different sunshine conditions. It's not, it's not like somebody just invented this yesterday and they're like, hey, try this out for them. Right. So again, if it works, it's going to be a huge savings for you. If it doesn't work, you made a bad decision.
Can't cancel.
You're not canceling that contract.
Legally binding.
You're not canceling that contract. You're buying you're buying those panels for 25 years if you lease.
You can't cancel it. You
Like,
don't have it.
some odd reason, something falls apart, something as you selling it, and I was able to, that loophole, that hole that was there. And I'm able to come in and say, hey, you can take it off, and you lied to me about what you were producing, so I can prove that.
But they're not putting loopholes in there.
No, that's not a loophole.
You
could sue them. Yeah, 100%. Now you could sue them. Like if it's really atrocious, like if it's really something like, you told me I was making 20, I'm making 10 or 12. I mean, I'm kind of dealing with that with the commercial. I've been out of this for a year and a half, and I'm dealing with a commercial installation of a friend of mine that it's not producing what we told him it was going to produce. And we are banging our heads against the wall trying to figure out why, because everything was done properly. Everything was done correctly. And we think we know why now, but, they're fixing it. Cause I'm just like, you guys better fix it. Like I should not still be fielding phone calls a year and a half later. This is ridiculous. But, you would sue them, quite honestly. Then you would have to go to litigation. If it was that egregious that it just didn't make any sense, right? But you most likely didn't do your due diligence at that point. You probably went with the first company you saw. It was some slick guy from Arizona selling it to you. You just didn't do your homework, and now you're kind of stuck. But they don't make there aren't loopholes. They're covering their butts. And I'll tell you, people like say you want them off your roof. It's not cheap. You roughly, I know companies out there that can probably get them done for about 200 to 250 a panel.
You have 17 on a small house.
Right. I mean, imagine if you have 80 panels on your roof. Like you have a 5,000 square foot home and you got 80 panels on the roof. Yeah. Again, a good company will do that. A good company will do that. I would not sell you a solar system. And the first thing the solar company should do is they do a site survey. You sign the contract. They send a team out for a site survey where they get on your roof, they measure, they grade the shingle, because they want to make sure they don't want to come out and take those panels off. And some companies do, like Solar Energy World did have a great warranty where they would come out and remove and replace one time. So if you wanted to get a new roof, they would actually come out, take them off. Now you got to pay a little extra up front. It was like 10 cents more per kilowatt hour at the beginning. Say it costs you up front, it costs you $1,500 to get this extra warranty. But if you ever want over 25 years, it's worth it. They would come take them off and put them back on, as opposed to you paying $250 a panel, right? So again, it's just it depends on who you're with.
The lease is up, they come take them. You don't pay to get them off your roof.
You can keep them on a lease. You can leave them there because they're still going to produce energy. It's not like year 25, oh, they stop. They'll keep making energy for the next 10, 15 years. It's just the degradation will pick up a little bit, and you might not make as much. You can keep them on the roof. You can have them come take them off. And these are problems that most people haven't even sniffed yet, because think about most people haven't hit 25 years yet. But they're going to start. They're going to start because it's been around long enough. What's that? Not unless you buy them out. No, they'll cut. You keep them there. You just deal with it. You have them take them off, or you re-up and get a new solar system. Those are your three choices. Leave them, get them, have them come take them because they own them. Remember, if you lease, the installer owns them. You don't own them. They're their panels. That's why it's really to their benefit to maintain those panels over the course of that time period, because they own them. So keep them, have them take them, or get a new system, or re-up for a new solar. Degradation, so typically it depends on the panel. All like there's a bunch of different types of manufacturers of panels, and all panels are not created the same. So most panels will degrade over a 25-year period, max 10 to 12%. So at the end of 25 years, they might make 88% of what they made in year one. But most good panels now, it's like 8%. So even in 25 years, you're still making roughly 92% of year one's production. They degrade like 0.25% per year, roughly. But it's just like any piece of electronic, right? We have electronics, and they get our phones, batteries in our phones, right? They every year, like, oh, my battery stinks now, I need a new phone, because the parts are getting worn out a little bit. They're just not as efficient as they were. And so that's what degradation is. It's just the decrease in energy over time.
Question about, we're talking about like the roofs, like an older roof with like a new system. So like if you're working with a buyer and you see a place, and it's, the roof looks to be 20, 25 years old,
Right.
and there's a new system on there. How would you advise the buyer? Would you be like, just, hey, keep in mind,
You're gonna need a
you
new
don't
roof.
replace this roof, there's gonna be that added cost of pulling those panels off,
Yeah.
putting a new roof on, putting those panels back on.
I would probably, unless you can see a contract, and unless they were owned,
Mhm.
and unless in that owned agreement, the warranty stated that they would come and take those panels off and put them back on, like a Solar Energy would with their premier warranty or whatever.
Yeah.
And Lumina actually has that as well, but I would just advise against that house,
Yeah.
because you're gonna know coming in, solar system just got put on a few years ago, that roof looks like it's 20 years old already.
Mhm.
You're going to need a new roof. That's trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's gonna be on you, right? I mean, that's gonna be
Yeah.
on your buyer.
Yeah. Usually the system is new as the roof is, but I did actually see one like a week and a half ago. that
Oh, I
was like,
bet.
oh, this roof is,
Why did they put that on there,
Yeah.
right? It's like, how could they put that on in good conscience? Yeah, no, I see it all the time.
My mom, she was going to have it installed, and they came to look at the roof before, and they said, look, your roof needs to be.
Replaced, yeah.
We'll replace it for you.
Yep. No, we've done that too, yeah. Every solar company almost has a roofing company as well, right? They're making money on the roof, they're making, so they give you a break, they give you a great price on the roof probably. But yeah, because they want to put the solar system in. So, yeah, a lot of them, they're gonna charge you for the roof, right? Whatever it costs, but they're not gonna do it for free.
No, they're not. Well, that's as far as I'm.
I would love to talk to your mom then, and make her to talk to the company.
yeah.
Nobody's getting a free roof. Nobody's getting a free roof. Think about logically, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's, I don't know how big your house is, but $10,000 roof, $15,000 roof, they're not eating. Yeah, that's
Would they
very
possibly
careful with
make
that.
To the loan, like,
That's what I was thinking.
the-
They might be raising the total, and that's usually what you do. You're like, I did it all the time. So if I need a new roof, I'm like, I can get you a new roof, right? We're just gonna put it all in one loan. And we're gonna give you one price, and look, you're still paying less for electricity than you were before, even with the new roof. How does that sound? Like, it's great. It's great. And it's true, but you're paying for the roof, bottom line, but you're paying for the roof. Yeah. I did not think I was gonna be up here with this long.
Inspection goes, and he's gonna probably say, hey, you need to put up a new roof. So here my buyer say, well, okay, it sounds like problems already, so I don't want the house.
Probably don't want that house.
Exactly, but even if my buyer said, I don't wanna continue that lease, I want that solar system off.
No,
Nope.
no.
Want the salary?
No.
The salary is not to pay on and
unless you can negotiate, go ahead. Unless you can negotiate for a big credit, say, look, I know your I know this roof needs to be replaced. I know I'm gonna have to pay for these panels to come off, and I know that's gonna cost me $15,000. I want a $15,000 credit. Yeah, that just has to be negotiated into the deal. Now, if they do that, okay, but you still have to go through, it's still a headache of dealing with, okay, I'm getting a credit, but now I'm gonna have to hire the company to come out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get the roof replaced. We're gonna have to put them back on. So I'm still as the buyer, still gonna have to deal with that other stuff that goes along with getting that replaced. A credit's great, but you still have to be sure that you're up for the calls, who's doing my roof, who's coming out, the contractors and all that kind of thing. Do you want to deal with that? Maybe. If you love the house enough, I guess maybe, right?
But can't they sell also the early, isn't there usually an early termination or early buyout fee in a lease that they can pay off the balance of the lease?
Or you can buy, after 5 years, you can fair market value, you can buy the system. As far as I know, that's the only way. Yeah. There is an early buyout, but you still have to pay for the total amount of electricity that was estimated to be made over the remaining time period. And it ends up being a big number.
Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah.
chunk.
Maybe had a seller that didn't realize it was a lease, and they disclosed that they own the panel. And so, when he sold when they went under contract, then it was discovered, I don't know who figured it out. Maybe the sellers, when they turned over all their paperwork, that it was a lease. Buyers didn't want it, didn't want the
Yeah.
panel, or the seller maybe they had negotiated for the seller to have the panel removed before settlement. He would have to tell you better, but they didn't know that it was a lease payment. The sellers ended up having to pay I want to say almost $30,000 to be able to get the panels removed.
It's crazy, I know. When I'm taking a buyer out and I see a solar system and they're interested in the house, because I've done a few of them. That's the first question I ask. Is it leased or is it owned?
And
They don't know, no idea.
they don't understand that they think they own it, but the lease, it's a
Right.
lease, and they don't realize they don't own, they just. think
So
they're
many
making
people don't.
payments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I own it, but I make a monthly payment and I own it.
Yeah, and then, well, and then I'll look up in the disclosures on the MLS, right? And if they're not in there, that's second question I ask, because you want to verify, okay, is it
Yeah,
at least run? So I want to see the document, I want to see the contract. And then, right away, it's on page 1, leased owned. Like Sunrun does all leases, and they're the biggest probably lease company out there. 25-year lease, starts out 12 cents kilowatt hour, 13 cents, whatever. Boom, page 1. So you got to find out if it's leased or owned, because that will determine how you approach everything. Literally everything. Yeah. Ground mounts. A ground mount.
if their roof isn't south facing or it doesn't get enough sun, they don't put it.
If they have enough yard space, yeah.
At our first house up here in Elkridge, we had trees, the house faced east to west, I guess. Yeah, east to west. And then we had trees north. I don't know. The only way that they could have put it out in the yard as a ground mount. Because the roof wouldn't have gotten enough sun on the roof. So they would have had to put it out in the yard.
Ground mounts are a little more expensive. There's more infrastructure that goes into putting a ground mount in, but
And that was 20 years ago.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it was 3 years.
yeah. But typically, the cost of the ground mount can be offset, because if it is a ground mount, you're probably facing them due south. So knowing that you're getting all that great sun facing due south versus a roof that might be east-west, the extra cost of going to a ground mount facing them south offsets the cost of putting on your roof if they're not optimal, if they're not faced in an optimal direction. But ground mounts are the same thing. You either own them or you lease them, bottom line. Yeah, you either own them or lease.
I don't know what, no new
Okay.
questions in there, but so this listing addendum, to touch back on that. I think, some of the ones that are really important are, if, like Bobby just explained to you guys, there's the transfer fee, the present fee, that's why it's bolded, right? What is the present fee? Because he just talked about it's gonna go up. So.
So it'd be like 200 per KW8, right, per kilowatt hour. Or per, right, you just gotta know what the contract says.
And then, and you guys, I would really be asking to see a copy of their contract, their lease. Because like we just said, they may say to you, we own it, but really in all reality, and I hate to say this, but John ended up splitting part of that fee with that seller. Because guess what, guys? Do you think this is a material fact that you knew or should have known? Just by not asking to see the contract and taking the seller's word for it, could put you at liability for failure to disclose a material fact. This is a material fact, whether it's leased or owned, whether the fee goes up, how long it lasts for, what the buyer's responsibility will be. Those are all material facts. Who by law is required to disclose material facts? No,
Listing agent.
the agent, not the seller, right? Sellers disclose latent defects. This is not a latent defect. This is a material fact.
Yeah.
So you guys need to be asking to see a copy of the lease or the contract or their purchase paperwork. And be very careful disclosing something until you've seen and verified and you know that what they're telling you is true.
And make sure this
Yeah.
transfer fee, make sure you have, most times that's free. Like a big company like a Sunrun, they're free transfers, but sometimes they're not. Some,
I've heard a couple $100.
yeah, sometimes it's 150, 200 bucks, and
Yes.
that's important to know.
Yep. And who's paying it, right? So this is what the seller fills out. Keep that in mind. This one though is really important. This big block here in the middle, any additional fees or increases in costs, Bobby just told you, it goes up 2.9% every year. That's important to go in that block. And they may say, oh no, there's no other fees. They may just say no additional fees. But the rest of that sentence says, or increases in cost. What's the increase in the cost? 2.9% each year. Yeah.
99.9% of these I see do not have any.
Yes.
Anything. Blank. Well, you should, oh, you mean on the listings, right? Exactly. I know.
Or even in the.
Or in the contract.
Notice, but notice what this says too. Copies of any documentation are attached and will be provided to the buyer.
Okay.
So you guys have to be getting copies. It's right here in the addendum. How many are you seeing in dot loop loaded?
Not that many. Some, it depends on. Sometimes I'll see them in there and sometimes I won't. Usually by the time the contract ends, I see them in doc.
Yeah.
So what we talking, Tina, would that cover us if we did have the documents and we didn't write it in that remark?
No.
So it's still, even if we have the contract we attach it to.
Well-
The buyer knows it, because we gave them the contract, and it shows that every year it's gonna be 2.9 increase.
I mean, yes, I guess if you, so here's the buyer's addendum. So remember that addendum, and this is what I don't understand. This doesn't go to the buyer, which I don't understand
Most of the
because
time, I see it in the contract still.
in the disclosures, they're putting it in the
Yeah.
disclosure.
Every time I meet it, and the solar panel and then the one.
Yeah.
They, the one that I had sent that to me because basically how I got information that.
Which is weird because that is just a seller broker, listing broker. This is the addendum that goes to the buyer.
Yeah.
So this is the solar panel addendum that goes to the buyer. And notice it doesn't have all of those details, but it does say, there's solar panel on the property. Here's the financial status. Is it owned or subject to a lease? Buyer and seller agree. So, either seller shall pay off the solar system financing or buy out and prepay the remainder of the lease. That was what I was talking about, Bobby, that I see sometimes.
Right.
Or, so if they have that checked off, great, they're gonna pay it off. And then now they have a contractual obligation to pay it off. Or within blank days from the date of contract acceptance, seller shall deliver to buyer the most recent versions of the solar system lease, PPA, or financing, all the solar system documents in their possession, and will provide to buyer the name, phone number, and solar company information, notify the solar company or loan servicer of the sale and the name of the buyer, and they have to work to help the buyer. So this number of days from contract acceptance is important, right? There's a lot that needs to happen in that number of days. And the seller has to reach out to the solar panel company in that number of
Oh, yeah.
days. And then buyer has how many days to review the paperwork and notify the seller if they want to move forward or terminate. Notice buyer shall have the unconditional right to terminate within blank days from receipt of the solar contract. Unconditional.
What do you guys normally see here and here?
I put, she said 3.
Yeah, I was thinking 10 and 3, yeah.
Yeah. 10 and 5.
But
Yeah.
I think
10 and
also,
5 is
Yeah,
yeah, but you know what? Also, we closed in a matter of like 14.
it was quick, so you need,
Yeah.
But I think also as a selling agent, what this has actually taught me, just dealing with two, is just to make sure that I ask for the most updated PPA agreement upfront. With make sure that they're gathering those documents at my listing appointment,
Mhm.
and also ask them for 12 months of their utility bills as well.
Yeah, well, and I love that you said that, Cassie. Thank you. Because if we go back to this addendum is to the listing agreement. So this is getting filled out when you're getting your listing paperwork signed. What does it say right here? Copies of documentation are attached. Meaning when you're signing a listing agreement, you're getting a copy of all of their lease, their PP, whatever they have, purchase agreement, all of that.
that's good.
At the time you're signing the listing agreement. So thank you for that.
So
And,
your
I,
client,
and honestly, I would say, agents, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call these companies.
100%.
Let them know, hey, I'm a selling agent. This is what I need. This is what I'm trying to do. And everything that they sent my seller, they copied me on it as well. PPA agreement, transfer, you know, the whole thing. We just had a couple of extra steps because it was in her husband's name and she had to provide a death certificate. But just, I mean, just don't be afraid to help them, because they don't even know,
Mhm.
they don't know what they don't know until you even. So we have. Amanda was in here when I was getting. Well,
it was a good one.
Yeah.
Does everybody know what a PPA is, by the way? PPA,
power purchase agreement.
it's basically a lease, just basically. A lease.
That was about right.
But just so you know what that means, power purchase. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I can't find
but most are. I will tell you, there's one that like, but there are offshoots, like Circa Energy in Annapolis. The ones that did this commercial, I just can't stand these guys. But and they would be hard, because the owner shouldn't be an owner, right? But it. Circa in Annapolis, but there are really, really good upstanding solar companies, really good.
Yeah.
And then they were getting
Bought up.
bought up.
That started happening a few years ago, yeah. And it's mainly the financial companies, Sonova,
Some took it.
Sunstrong.
They were pretty easy.
So what?
Well, can you talk about why? What happened with the government?
So the government took away as of December 31st of 2025, there's no more 30% federal tax credit. Which I got it right under the deadline on mine, so. Yeah, I got like a $4,500 tax credit, cash credit. That no more on a purchase. Purchase is where you get you see your federal tax credit if there are any state grants, if you saw back something called SREC, solar renewable energy certificates, that's where you're literally selling the power back. That's not the net metering credit you get in April. That is every month you sell power that you make on your roof back and you get a paycheck, basically. That's all in the purchase, right? But the one incentive, and it was a big incentive that was just taken away, was the federal tax credit for 30% is now gone. Okay, but the state of Maryland there is a program in the state of Maryland where you can still get that, and it goes through the state, not federal. And so the state is basically allowing you to still receive that same amount in credit, but it's through state tax, not federal tax.
So my guess is because that news came out out of last legislative session.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
last spring, I mean, we knew about
Yeah.
that last spring, because you and I talked about it. So my guess is, and I could be wrong, buyers stopped buying.
oh, right, why they went out of business, yeah,
Yeah, the buyers stopped buying when that big tax credit went away. That was a huge incentive. So when, then these smaller companies
That's what
took a big hit on their business.
yeah, just over leveraged. That was a big one. Sonova was huge because they were one of the largest leasing. They did the financing and the installation. And that one was huge. And then really what happens is your contract, like say you were with them, that does go to, you just have to find out who that goes to manage your system. So it's not like you won't have a system that's unmanaged or that you can't make a phone call and find out, what's wrong, or if a panel goes out, it's not producing energy anymore, who do I call? That's you just have to make sure that you know who it's going through now. It's just, yeah, that was wild, but it's just like anything. I mean, consolidation is all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, we recorded it.
It should be here.
I
I have
know,
one more
yeah.
question. You can mention, I mean, I guess like you need to be doing your due diligence no matter who the installer or leaser is, but like a former client wants to get solar and you mentioned like you should get 3 or 4 quotes. Do you have like preferred companies?
Oh,
that you're
100%.
Talking to,
I still talk to my old boss all the time. He's one of the best men in the world.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's a friend.
what
Yeah.
company is that?
Solar Broker USA is my guy Wayne. Just a great dude. Oh yeah, I wish he was here. I was just a great guy. He's funny. Solar Brokers USA. Yeah.
And do they kind of
They,
do like an insurance broker where they're
Shop
they shop around a little bit?
yeah, I wouldn't say we shopped. But what we knew, we were either going with Lumina or Sustainable Energy Systems. Like if you were out past Frederick, we were going with Sustainable Energy Systems. If you were anywhere within the Baltimore Metro, we were going Lumina. But again, depending on if you want to do a purchase or a lease, because not all leases are created equal. We wanted we're trying to get the lowest cost possible for our customer, so they go with it, so they choose us because they're pricing us out. But Solar Brokers USA, yeah, Wayne will do anything, fix anything, make sure that everybody's happy.
Yeah.
I love the guy.
What are your thoughts on, just real quick, last question, because I feel like because this was just in the news here in Howard County recently, the Tesla fire hazards to the solar panels, but particularly the Tesla. You heard about the Tesla solar system that
Is that the Tesla roof?
burnt that, roof
Yeah.
that burnt that house to the ground out in Howard County.
Yeah, for one, Tesla roofs, they're 3
Mm.
times the cost of a typical solar system. It looks like shingles on the roof. Super hard to manage, really hard to fix if something goes wrong, because your entire roof is now a solar
That's what the
system.
Shingles are.
Solar
Yeah,
shingles, solar shingles. There's GAF is getting into that bit, like shingle companies are getting into that world, that business. The future is just, we can't stop the future, right? Like
Yeah.
that technology is just gonna keep,
It's not there yet.
It's not-
I think it's too new.
it's not there yet, and the cost is so prohibitive. It's like 3 times as much.
Well,
as
where
the
you're
solar
seeing it are on the big,
Rich houses.
rich Howard County houses.
Right,
And,
yeah.
because it's the new hot thing, and
Yeah,
it looks nicer than putting solar panel system
Yeah.
on these $1 million
I don't know
mansions.
too much about it. I can't imagine if that was covered by homeowner. I mean, I can't imagine, but
But what I've heard, somebody else just said, the solar shingles, stay away from them. The technology's too new.
yeah,
It's like anything. You don't want to be the early adopter of new technology.
I think
Yeah.
we talked about that.
Yeah.
a week or 2 ago.
So, let it sink, it's like whenever Ford comes out with the first edition of a new vehicle, right? You wait until the second iteration of that vehicle where they work out all the kinks and the problems. I think it's the same kind of thing,
100%.
but you may have buyers that are looking at a house that have it on the roof.
I mean,
and-
the cost to that home, because the seller's gonna wanna recoup that cost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine what the cost of the home would be
Yeah,
with that expense on the roof. I mean, think of it as a home addition. Solar system is a home addition, just like a deck, a swimming pool, except it gives you value, it lowers your electric bill, right? But you still have to still have to pay for it, right? So the cost of putting a roof on there, holy smokes, I mean, trying to recoup that in the selling price of your home.
Yeah.
Just, you can't even find a comp, you wouldn't find comps for it.
No. Awesome. Well, thank you, Bobby. This was incredible.
Yeah. Well, I was rambling the whole time, but,
No.
but thank you. You're welcome.
Important.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Awesome, thanks.
Now you guys know who your expert is. No, I'm kidding.
No way, I said, I still getting a referral.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you online. You're
If
welcome.
you need help.
Have a great day, guys.
Well,
Well, we did that with.
Thank you, bye.
Gave the buyer so much confidence.